Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Goblin Biker deck profile. So I'm really excited to speak to you guys because this deck is an extremely fun level 3 deck that focuses around making XZ monsters to help you go in for game. I've included some really spicy tech cards in this build for you guys, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description for each single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Goblin Biker Doug. This card is definitely a 3-of in the build because it has the ability, if this card's in your hand, you can detach an AZ material from a monster on the field, and if you do, you get to special summon this card to your side of the field. And if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a Goblin Biker spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability because we have some awesome cards this card can actually search. We then play 2 copies of Clattersploder. Clattersploder is really good as a 2-of in the build because if this card is normal or special summon, you can target a goblin monster in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and special summon it, which gives you 2 monsters on your side of the field so you can start making XZ plays. It also has a really cool ability that during your opponent's main phase, if this card's in your graveyard, quick effect, you can detach an XZ material from a monster on either player's field, and if you do, special summon this card but banish when it leaves the field, which is a great ability just to be able to bring this card back from the grave to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Goblin Biker Mean Merciless. Merciless is really cool as a 2-of in the deck, plus it's a fiend monster, so it does work with Tour Guide from the Underworld, which is really nice. And if this card is normal or special summoned, then you can actually special summon a goblin monster from your hand, except another copy of this card. And during your main phase, if this card's in the graveyard, you can detach a material from an XZ monster on either field, and if you do, special summon this card but banish when it leaves the field. We then finally play a single copy of Goblin Biker Boom. Boom is really good as a 1-of in the deck, but you really only need a single copy of this card in the build because it has the ability once per chain during the main phase. If this card's in your hand or grave, quick effect, you can detach a material from a monster on either player's field, and if you do, you get to special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon Goblin Biker Boom for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal. It's just a really good card in the deck to be able to play as a 1-of. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card helps out so much as a normal summon, because you can normal summon this card out to your side of the field and bring out your copy of Mean Merciless directly from the deck to your side of the field, which is just a great target to be able to summon. We then play 2 copies of Speedroid Terratop. Terratop is great in this deck as a 2-of, and it's really good because if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and when it's normal or special summon, you can add a copy of a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be your copy of your Tekatomborg that you're adding from your deck to your hand off its ability, so that you can basically special summon this card to your side of the field because you control a wind monster, which is a great effect just to instantly get this card out on the field. We then play a single copy of Psychic Wheelator. Psychic Wheelator is great as a 1-of in the build because if you control a level 3 monster other than a copy of Wheelator, you can special summon this card from your hand in Defense Solution, which is a really cool ability just to instantly get another monster out on the field. We then play a single copy of Psychic Tracker. Tracker is also great as a 1-of in the build, as if you control a level 3 monster other than a copy of Tracker, then you can special summon this card from your hand in Defense Solution, getting you an additional monster on the field. Plus, they're both E-Telly targets, which is great in this deck, and it just helps a lot overall to get these cards out on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card is also an E-Telly target and is a hand trap that can actually activate on the field, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the deck, because it is an additional E-Telly target that we can summon to our side of the field, which is just super helpful in this deck. This card is great because it can pop cards on the field. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card can basically stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is really good because it stops your opponent from searching for the rest of the turn, which is amazing. This card is definitely a 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good as a 1-of in the deck because we play a couple of warriors that we can actually search off this card's ability. We then play a single copy of Ghost Trick Shot. Ghost Trick Shot is great at helping us step into our copy of F-Zero because all you have to do is make a copy of Alucard, then make a copy of Angel of Mischief, detach a copy of your Alucard off your Angel of Mischief, and then summon it off your copy of your Ghost Trick Shot by bringing your Alucard back from the graveyard to your side of the field, making a second copy of your Angel of Mischief, and then overlaying both Angel of Mischiefs to make F-Zero and then your Topic Draco Future, which is so cool that off of 2 level 3 monsters, you can basically make an F-Zero, which is so cool. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. This card is really good as a 2-of in the deck because it either lets you draw 2, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it and shuffle it into the deck, which is just really good overall about this build. This card is definitely a 2-of in the deck and just helps out a lot in this build. We then play 2 copies of Goblin Biker Grand Bash. This card is great as a 2-of in the deck. It is searchable, which is why I just played 2 copies in this build. But it has the ability that goblin monsters that you control gain 3 in attack for each goblin monster that you control, which can actually make your goblins huge in this deck, which is so cool. This card is definitely a 2-of. And also has the ability during your main phase, you can normal summon a goblin monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is great to just get an additional goblin on your side of the field. And it also has the ability you can target 2 goblin monsters that you control and then activate one of these effects that you can either make the level of one of those monsters become the current level of the other, or both monsters' level become their combined original level, so you can go in for rank 6 plays since all of our goblins in this deck are all level 3. So it's a really good card to give you an attack boost, level manipulate your monsters, and give you an additional normal summon. But since it is searchable and all of our goblins special summon themselves in different ways, I feel like 2 is all you really need. We then play 3 copies of Goblin Biker Grand Entrance. Entrance is basically Rhoda for the deck. This card is amazing in the build overall because it lets you add a goblin monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can apply the following effect: that you detach an XZ material from a monster on either field, and if you do, special in a level 4 lower goblin monster from your hand, and you also banish this card from the grave, and then detach an XZ material from a monster on either player's field, and then you can add a goblin monster from your graveyard to your hand, which is an insane effect for this card to have. I absolutely love that about this card. It's just a really good 3-of. It's basically just Rhoda, but better. We then play 3 copies of E-Telly. E-Telly is really good as a 3-of in the build because it can special summon out your copy of your Wheeler, Tracker, or even your copy of Ghost Ogre, which is just really good to be able to get an additional level 3 on your side of the field, essentially being like Unexpected Die, which is just really good overall to get an additional monster on your side of the field. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Full Armored XZ. We are playing the Armored XZ package in this deck, but I feel like you really only need the trap in this build. And this card is really good overall in this deck to be able to search off your copies of your Armored XZ cards so you can step into some really awesome XZ plays. We then play a single copy of Goblin Biker Grand Stampede. Grand Stampede is really good as a 1-of in the build, but you really only need a single copy of this card because it is searchable off your copy of Doug, and it has the ability that during the main phase, you can immediately, this effect resolves, XZ summon an XZ monster using only goblin monsters that you control, and if you control a goblin XZ monster, then you can actually target one effect monster on the field, and then detach a material from that monster or on either side of the field, and if you do, negate that monster's effects until the end of the turn, which is a great ability. We then also play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is really good as a 3-of, just to basically stop your opponent's monster effects. And the cool thing about this deck is you have a lot of room for hand traps, which is really nice because the engine is so tight for your goblins, which is really nice for being able to basically just stop your opponent in their tracks. But this card is great to be able to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps, which is really cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Goblinberg Big Gabunga. Calabunga, dude. This card is great as a 2-of in the deck, is it has the ability, if this card is XZ summoned, you can add a goblin monster from your deck to your hand, and if it has a material is detached from a monster on the field, except during the damage step, you can actually target a face-up monster on the field, accept this card, and attach it to this card as a material, and during the main end phase, you can actually attach a goblin Goblin monster from your deck to this card as a material, which is a great effect. This card is definitely a 2-of in the deck. It's just a really good card overall. We then play a single copy of Goblin's Crazy Beast. This card is really easy to summon out to your side of the field because you have that one card in the deck that can actually level manipulate to make your monsters level 6, which is really cool, and has a really cool effect that once per turn, quick effect, you can actually target a spell or trap on the field and then detach 2 materials from a monster on the field, and if you do, attach that target to this card as a material. And if a monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can actually detach a material from this card instead, and if this card is in your graveyard, then you can special summon this card and then attach a Goblin monster from your graveyard to this card as a material, but you can only use the effect of this card once per duel, which is a really awesome effect, but it's just so easy to put on your side of the field because of your copy of Goblin Grand Bash. I love this card, being able to just put 2 of your goblins that are level 3 to level 6 so you can make this card. It's just such a cool card overall. I absolutely love Crazy Beast. We then play a single copy of Evil Czar Lars. This is another target that you can make in the deck because you can make your goblins level 6, and this card is just really good because it basically is just a walking say no, which is really cool because when this card has a material, your opponent cannot target it with monster effects, and when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you need to attach 2 materials in this card, and it has the ability that you can actually target one card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn, which is a great ability. We then play a single copy of Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer. This card can get absolutely massive, and it is easy to be able to summon out to your side of the field with your Armored XZ package. We then play a single copy of XZ Armor Fortress. Fortress is really good because it has the ability once per turn, you can XZ summon this card by using a rank 3 or 4 XZ monster you control, and then you transfer all the materials to this card. It cannot be used as material for an XZ summon while it has a material, which it won't once you summon out to your side of the field, because you're going to summon out your copy of Torpedo first, detach its material so you can get a draw off Torpedo, then make this with 1 material under it, detach, and then add your copy of your trap card to your hand, because it also has the ability once per turn, you can detach up to 2 materials from this card, and then add Armored XZ cards with different names from your deck to your hand, which you're only going to add 1 of this card's ability, which is going to be the Armored XZ Trap, but it's still really good to be able to make in this deck to help you step into your copy of Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer, which is just so cool. We then play a single copy of Torpedo. Torpedo is just a really good stepping stone to be able to make your copy of your Fortress, and this card is just really good because it has the ability that you can detach 2 materials in this card to draw a card, which is just going to get materials out from under this card, so you can make Fortress with 1 material, and then step into your copy of Dark Knight Lancer by just detaching material off of this to be able to detach this, and then once you detach off of the Fortress your copy of Torpedo, you can add the Armored XZ Trap, and then set it to your side of the field to set up for a copy of Full Armored Dark Knight Lancer. We then play for the Ghost Trick package. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Angel of Mischief. Angel of Mischief is great as a 2-of in the build because this card has the ability that you can also XZ summon this card by using any Ghost Trick XZ monster you control as a material except another copy of this card. And it also has a really cool ability that you can detach a material from this card to add a Ghost Trick spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is Ghost Trick Shot, which is a monster reborn. So basically what you do is you make a copy of your Alucard, and once you make your copy of Alucard on your side of the field, you just make a copy of Angel of Mischief, detach a material from your copy of Angel of Mischief, which will be your Alucard, to add your copy of Ghost Trick Shot from your deck to your hand, and then once you do that, you activate Ghost Trick Shot, bring back your Alucard, make your second copy of Angel of Mischief, giving you 2 monsters on your side of the field, so you can make your copy of F-Zero and your copy of Utopic Draco Future, which is just so cool to be able to do, because it gets you a really insane boss monster. And then a new copy of number 75, Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. This card is just really good to be able to make in the deck. As once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can detach 2 materials on this card, and the activated effect becomes both players draw a card, which helps us out a lot because we have a lot of cool cards we can draw in this deck, like hand traps, all of this card's ability. And then play a single copy of Downer Magician because it just gives us an additional material so we can make a really big Zeus. We then play a single copy of Double A Zeus because Zeus is just insane and it board wipes the field. Play a single copy of F-Zero, which is just great to be able to step into a copy of Utopic Draco Future. Draco Future is great because you just make it with 2 copies of Angel of Mischief. It's just a ridiculously powerful monster that cannot be destroyed by battle, cannot be destroyed by card effects, and also it's a walking negate, which is just insane, but it's a really good card to be able to make in this build. So, That's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun. If you guys have not played Goblin Bikers yet, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's super fun. I absolutely love the names because they're just such cool names for a deck. And I hope to see more support for this deck in the future because it's just such a cool deck. And finally, we have a full-fledged Goblin deck, which is really, really cool. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.